person I have next to me today who always talks to me about enjoying the sound of the grand piano is somebody I have come to know as a writer, as a playwright, as a director, as of course a musician, and to me a very, very close personal friend. This is Gowri Ramnarayan, who Madras knows very well, and I don't need to give her an introduction. Gowri Akka, as we call her, has used me well in the context of theatre, where we had music and theatre together, and according to me that has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, because playing a concert is one thing, but playing for theatre with Gowri Akka was very different. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And the reason that I wanted you here today was because we've been talking for the last so many episodes about music with respect to Carnatic music and Western classical music and so on, but I wanted to do something about music and theatre, because I think you're one of the few people, in fact I may dare say you're the only person I know of who's actually used live musicians, and that too live musicians of great standing, along with very, very talented actors on stage, to produce productions like, I think I first saw Rural Fantasy, and then I saw The Dark Horse, and then I've seen Flame of the Forest, and of course Water Lilies, which I took part in with you. Where did you come up with the inspiration of music with theatre? What drove you to do that? I know, of course, it comes from you as a person, but I think our viewers would like to know.
It's kind of difficult to say. Honestly, it's not because I grew up in a world of music or in a family of musicians. It's because the first play I wrote, I think you know, is called Dark Horse,
right,
and it's about the enigmatic poet Arun Koratkar. So when I was writing this play in a kind of a dialogue form, I was naturally using a range of his poems. And one of the things that I came up against, a problem that I came up against in writing this text was, how do you get the nuances in? How do you, see, the words, every word has a resonance, every word has a projection. And every word has all these layers, okay? Especially when you're writing about a poet who is very, very laconic, doesn't speak much, who's enigmatic, and who's spare and Spartan in the use of his language when he talks to you. And even his poetry is very spare. So how do you communicate the seething emotions in that poetry, that range and the complexity and the shades and the hues?
Because music can give articulation to some of those things that we cannot otherwise verbally give articulation
Absolutely.
to. So,
you've got it. Absolutely.
because it reminds me of Debussy, when Debussy does to denote ripples of water on, he says this is a lake, on these are ripples of water, and the ripples of the water show me the surface of the moon. As part of thing. The other thing that excited me very much about seeing Rural Fantasy was that I saw my cousin Krishna performing on stage. T.M. Krishna, as everybody knows, is one of the top, probably the top Carnatic musician and Sangeeta. And then again with Gurucharan,
yes,
and Amrita. And I've never seen, top draw performers like that from a completely different context. I mean, they're all hardcore musicians sitting live and performing for theatre. For me, it was personally very rewarding.
They hugely enjoyed it.
Okay.
As I said, it is a completely rejuvenating experience for a classical musician who, is straight-jacketed in willy-nilly into a certain mold.
A concert hall kind of thing.
And you have to do it in a concert hall, and you have to do it, So to get a completely different audience, and many of the people who came to see Rural Fantasy didn't know who T.M. Krishna was. Who's that cool dude, they asked me, So
excellent, because and I'm so glad, because I think even for them it would have enriched.
Absolutely, they started going to concerts after that.
Yeah. And for me, it enriched me, because, to play is one thing, but to be able to play in context is completely different. It's being able to understand something else, which is from a totally different standpoint. For me, Water Lilies, as I said, was rewarding because where to underplay, where to put in certain subtle undertones, where not to play, and to respect silences when certain paragraphs are being spoken out, when certain poems are being read out. I think it...
you can't drown the drama. The music has to... But for me, honestly speaking, I don't see music as a subtext. I see it as a parallel text, Because when I write a play, and even when I directed somebody else's play, as I did Ashad Ka Ek Din, Mohan Rakesh's Hindi classic,
Which was, in English, it was called One Day in Ashad.
Yeah, One Day in Ashad. So when I did that also, what happens to me is I hear the music, and for the same reason that I said at the beginning, because how do you communicate the incommunicable?
Right.
See, verbal expression is so limited in many ways. Whereas I think music is much freer and has
Absolutely.
an ability to range across emotions. And I think they balance very well.
I think so. In fact,
Yeah.
there's a French composer called Chaminade who talks about autumn leaves and writes about autumn leaves falling like this. And there's those odd notes to represent the fact that some are green and some are yellow.
Yeah.
And then some change in between as the leaf shifts.
Yeah.
And when you go through music like that, it stops you in your tracks because they're being able to communicate through music something that cannot otherwise be communicated. And I think those have been done extremely successfully in your plays. So
And I think it's a great advantage to the audience because when you come to a play which depends on the words, they have to concentrate much more, they have to participate much more, they have to imagine much more, they have to be real rasikas. Okay?
But music enriches the experience that they
No,
get.
I think musical subliminally communicates without
lot of
your
things.
knowing that it's being communicated.
Absolutely.
So at the conscious level, you're absorbing something, and at the unconscious level, you're absorbing something else. What I've tried to do, not consistently, because I think the same thing if you do over and over again is boring anyway.
Absolutely.
What I try to do is to create the kind of music which does not go exactly according to the word, and I think you experienced that also.
did.
You put in the contrastive emotions or the undercurrents or
Right.
the darker side or the lighter side depending, but as a contrast, sometimes you complement and sometimes you contrast. And for the audience, they're not even aware that even rasikas and music lovers and
right.
people who know music,
it's not
just
in
sinks
the face.
Yeah, it comes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll end this this wonderful discussion we are having with music from Chaminade before I talk to Gowri Akka about some more interesting things. So this is just a little bit from that piece.
Yeah.
My favorite moment from Rural Fantasy was the Sutumvidi, which was presented in a totally. Can you just sing one line of that Sutumvidi, which you have tuned in that in the play, because it's very unique.